This is why I love this show. Let them eat pie. I am late with this review. I was having technical issues and then I had a really packed weekend, so I did not get this out in the time that I wanted, and really annoyed because, this was a really good episode. I mean, this is so much about what I love about Gotham, about the characters, about the storytelling, about all of it. So yeah, that's your spoiler-free stuff. I am gonna get into spoilers, so be aware. I love what they've done with Professor Pig for a number of reasons. First of all, I just think it's a really executed arc. I think he's a compelling and fun villain. I think the way he's going about things has been really fun to watch. It's been really interesting to watch how other characters have reacted to him, and not just the cops. To see him in the room with Penguin, that was really good. Watch the two of them just kind of surprise each other a little. All great stuff. I love that they did this with a lesser known villain as opposed to going for one of the other big names that they haven't touched yet. That was a nice change of pace. As much as I don't have the issue with Gotham that a lot of people have, like, you can't have these villains before Batman. Like, I'm way over that. I also don't want them to burn through too many of the big name Batman villains. So taking Professor Pig and really making something very memorable out of him, that is great. And that's something that I'm really enjoying the heck out of. They've done that with a number of characters. I think they've done it now best with him. I think Victor Zsasz is another one. Victor Zsasz is fairly memorable from the comics, but I've latched onto him on this show way more than on anything else. So I love what they did with the character. I love the character that they chose to do it with. I'm really liking where they're going with Penguin now. I was a little bit nervous a couple of episodes leading into this because it felt like they were doing the whole, people are emotionally manipulating Penguin again thing, which has been done a couple of times and was done very well last season with the whole thing between him and Ed went down. This time, Penguin has not forgotten what's gone on, and this episode especially has reminded us that even though he is very much ruled by his emotions, he is still paying attention. He is clever. You can't underestimate him, which the people around him clearly are. They think they've got him figured out. They're like, well, he's a problem, but we know how he works. He can be unpredictable, and this episode has re-emphasized that, which is really good, and it's important to keeping Penguin relevant, which I think I'm not sure he was actually in danger of becoming irrelevant, but I was afraid that he was going to start to become one of those characters who was around because he's always been around and he wasn't actually doing anything massively relevant anymore. This episode reaffirms his not only importance to the universe, but that he is an impact and a wild card in many ways as far as all of this goes. I'm surprisingly really liking what's going on with Bruce right now, especially the relation between Bruce and Alfred, because Bruce has been up and down for me over the course of this show. Sometimes he hasn't worked for me. Sometimes he's worked quite well. He's gone back and forth repeatedly. And I've said before, I didn't really care for the Ra's al Ghul arc in general. I am liking how it's playing out right now with Bruce. I like that we're seeing the impact of it. I like that Alfred is trying to do this connection, and I feel that the relationship between the two and the degree to which Bruce is resisting it makes sense for the character and for an overall arc, especially since he has gotten some degree, this version of Bruce has gotten some degree of closure over his parents' death that our normal Bruce Wayne has never gotten. And so I think it's important that since he's gotten that he is damaged by the process with which he got his quote-unquote revenge. Because oftentimes sort of the way Batman works is that he doesn't ever get closure on his parents' death, and that's a big part of what drives him to be Batman. This won't happen to anyone else. I couldn't get proper resolution on my damage, so I'm going to funnel that into this other thing. Here, they're taking a different tact, which is that Bruce did get resolution, or at least he got what he thought he wanted out of resolution relative to his parents' death, but it didn't help. It didn't make the pain go away. It didn't fill the void in his life. And so he's now going to have to fill that with something else. Initially, clearly, with damaging stuff, and then eventually down the road with being Batman. And I like this dip, and it very much mirrors what happened with Gordon, because Gordon came in to this show as the White Knight. He was boring. I didn't care for him. They had him go to a darker place, made him more interesting, and now they have him coming out the other side of that, trying to attain that that initial ideal again, knowing that he's damaged, but still saying this is a goal worth striving for. And I feel like they're mirroring that in a lot of ways with Bruce, because we've seen him start down the path of the vigilante, the mask. He was out at night, and that was working for me, but it almost did seem a little bit like, are we heading to straight line to Batman? It's like, no, we're going to detour into this damaged area, and then eventually he'll come back up and reclaim that thing that he let go when he thought he didn't need it or it wasn't helping or what have you. So I'm loving all of that. Sophia is still, she's not the strongest of the elements that's at play in this particular episode, but she is working well for me in the way that she is affecting other characters for the most part. The Martine stuff, I really like that, basically with what it brought out with Penguin, that he is admitting to this connection with this child, but he's not stupid. He actually had the thought at the same time I had the thought, because when he said, a mute spy, I thought, oh, well, he's going to try and use this kid to get to Sophia. It's going to be a twist. Sophia was really using the kid to get to him, but he starts talking to this kid and he realizes this is a possibility already. So I'm like, oh, good on you, Oswald. Nice. And again, I'm just liking what that dynamic is bringing out of Penguin. It's helping bringing him back to what I love when the character's really firing on all cylinders. And this has just been a real highlight episode of this season so far, certainly. I loved this. I don't know what comes next, because now we've appeared to have, for the time, closed out the Professor Pig story, so don't know what's next, but man, I love this show. So those are my thoughts on the latest episode of Gotham. What were your thoughts on it? Whatever they were, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, check me out on Twitter at Council of Geeks. Give a listen to the Council of Geeks podcast that's available on Apple Podcasts as well as Stitcher Radio. I'm also one half of the Punch Like a Girl podcast. That is a presentation of the Fire and Water Podcast Network, fireandwaterpodcast.com. There's links below for all this stuff, and until next time, this council is adjourned.